I meet a lot of people who struggle with social media because they're not seeing results. They want to tell everyone else that it really doesn't matter. Or they're looking for a reason to not have to do it. After all, it's kind of a drag to have to be consistent at something, especially when you've got a family and other deadlines and commitments to make. So, why does social media matter? What impact does it have on your business? Well, first off, remember that social media is really just a broad collection of tools. There are so many pieces that go into a social network. Text, technology, audio, video, photography, you name it, interactivity. All of these can be a part of your network. One of the things I like to point out is the rapid growth in social networking. So if we track this back to 2008, which is really when social networks started to catch on, you see enormous growth. We've pretty much plateaued. We hit a spike of about 80% back in 2017, and we've seen little ups and downs around this related to things going on. A lot of this can be tied to economic factors, global factors, things that keep people away from their technology. But pretty much at this point, 4 out of 5 people you're going to encounter have a profile on a social network. Now, these numbers are from Edison Research and are tied to the United States, but we'll talk about global numbers a little bit later. They're relatively similar, but do vary by country. Now, there's a lot of choices out there, and what works for one person will not work for another. You're also going to see that there are certain social networks that are more popular in specific countries. For example, China has its own tools that work within their government structure that are widely popular with millions of users that you've never logged into. And there are other ones available that are not in all countries. Or one of my favorite is that people often miss the big picture. They'll tell you how they're never going to use Facebook and it's so uncool and that you should be using Instagram. Or that they don't like the intrusiveness and that's why they use WhatsApp. Well, Facebook owns all three. So you really need to understand that these are major media companies, bigger than television networks and movie studios, and you have to find the tool that works for you. But these are huge companies with global reach, so you're going to want to pay attention and find the vibe and the culture that fits your style. So what about those big companies and the gatekeepers? Well, social media is just one in a long line. There's a lot of gatekeepers to information. Back in the 1870s, Western Union controlled 90% of telegraph traffic. This was really the only way to communicate across state lines. In 1947, 97% of all radio stations in the United States were affiliated with one of 4 networks. In some countries, it was with the state, in fact, no independent networks. So think about that, how much information was centralized. In 1969, the 3 nightly major networks had an all-time high with 50% of Americans tuning in each night to watch the news. As we go into the more modern era, we've seen other changes. In 1997, not really that long ago, early in the birth of the internet, AOL had more than half of all customers. When's the last time you logged into AOL? Now, it's still there, some people do, but a huge change in not that long of a time. In 2002, Microsoft was the dominant browser. Internet Explorer had 97% market share. It put Netscape, the originator of the Mosaic web browser, in the grave. Now, where's Internet Explorer? Doesn't even exist. It's been replaced by Edge, but has been made not nearly as popular as browsers like Google Chrome. And in 2014, Amazon sold 63% of all books online and more than 40% of all books sold in the market. So what does this mean? It means things change. Most of those things I shared with you happened in my lifetime, and certainly my parents' lifetime. The dominant forms of communication are constantly evolving, and what's the market leader today can quickly lose its place tomorrow. So what are some of those behaviors to keep track of? Well, one of it is that adults are going online a lot. If you look at this, you'll see that 28% of all Americans say they are essentially constantly online. They have an internet connection with them at all times. They're glancing at their smartphone at work, checking on brakes, when they're at stoplights, etc. They are constantly connected. Almost half are online multiple times a day. And when you add up that with the daily, you see that there's a lot of people online. About 82% of all Americans are online every day. Now, there's still 10% that say never. And this is important to realize. A lot of folks assume that everyone is on the internet, but there are reasons some folks can't do it. Might be tied to their work or restrictions, or it might be a lifestyle choice. So remember, putting your stuff only online will limit you to about 1 out of 10 people not finding your stuff. So you do need to have a traditional method for delivery if that's important for your clientele. But fortunately, in the world of video, technology adoption is pretty high. So how about internet access? Well, if we break this down by a couple of categories, you'll see that it's pretty strong. 90% of men and 91% of women are online. If we look at age groups, you'll see that the younger someone is, it's virtually universal. It's only as we get into retirement age that people are choosing not to get online. In some cases, this might be because of work, or it just might be because of lifestyle or their particular choice and culture. If we take a look, though, at education, you'll also see it skews up. The more educated someone is, the more likely they're going to be online. This isn't about making a judgment about someone being smart or not smart. It just means that those that have invested in formal education are more likely to be regularly connected to the internet. This means that the people that are going to be hiring you, that work in jobs and professional factors, are likely going to be connected. So more good news that if you want to reach prospective clients, being online, particularly social media, is the way to go. And if we take a look at income, you'll see the higher incomes, again, the more likely online access is, making these demographics more attractive for business opportunities. Similarly, urban and suburban users are also going to be more connected than those out in rural spaces. Really simply, social media has changed everything. Gone are the days of people waiting for their entertainment to be aired, or for the information that they want to be accessing to come online. People don't schedule their lives around TV shows anymore. They don't have to make appointments to go take a course. Those things do still happen in some traditional environments, but the access to information, education, entertainment has completely changed, and social media is a huge factor. It used to be that people would simply feel this way: I want what I want when I want it. And this was the early change in the internet. This is what happened in the 90s. The 1990s, particularly the end of that decade, led to people being able to access content more freely. But the change we see now that we're in a new century, and as we move forward, is I want what I want, when I want it, and where I want it. This change has been revolutionary. Internet-connected televisions, tablets, smartphones, smart devices. I can access my entire library from anywhere I want and listen to whatever music I want from my collection or from other collections and virtually get anything by simply asking my phone to play it. This is incredible. The size of video libraries, like the educational content you're watching or the entertainment content that you can search, has completely changed people's behavior. That's a good thing. And being able to embrace that is critical to your professional success.